Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Hot Takes Goodman and Haertl. Got a lot to get into, including the Nuggets. They have their opponent. We certainly know who the Avs opponent is going to be for the playoffs. But before we jump into all of that, I'm sure, and I would be willing to bet the house against a cup of coffee, you watched the Rory McIlroy roller coaster like I did. Was there anything that came to mind as you were watching it, comparing it to maybe another sport or another athlete that you have seen as you watched him go up, down, up, down, up, down?
Well, I was so taken in the moment by the ever-changing storylines of those last really 11 holes. Eric, he made 2 pars over his last 11 holes. Otherwise, he was bogeying, double bogeying, or making birdies. It was absolutely remarkable. So I'm probably trying to draw a comparison, but it was, I went back and forth between the Gabe Landeskog story and the Rory McIlroy story as being the biggest one on the weekend for me. Now, obviously, you have a local one and then you have a national one. But I was surprised how much I found myself pulling for Rory McIlroy this weekend.
Oh, I knew that I was going to pull for him. What made me feel badly was Justin Rose is a great dude. Great
no question. Right.
And it almost felt like people were rooting against him. They weren't. They were just rooting for Rory McIlroy. I mean, Bryson DeChambeau, I understand that he's on the LIV Tour, but he is an American. And an American crowd was rooting for the non-American guy. Yeah. But as I was watching this roller coaster of a round, which as I'm watching him, I'm thinking that looks like my golf game. Double bogey, 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 maybe an occasional birdie. Look like my round. But I digress. When he was standing over his putt for bogey, for bogey on 18 in regulation. But there were certainly other moments that made me feel this way, but it was really crystallized for me when he had that bogey putt, which he hit to force to a playoff. All I kept thinking of was Jean Van de Velde at the Open, in which it was so incredibly uncomfortable to watch as Van de Velde is taking off his shoes and his socks, walking into the creek, knowing he's going to blow it. That went to a playoff as well. This, yesterday, went to a playoff as well. I can't even imagine if McIlroy did not win in that playoff, missing that par putt on 18, that would live with him for the rest of his life. Even if he won 10 more majors, but in the other 3, not the Masters, how this would not haunt him for the rest of his life.
It is, when you stop to consider the skill that he plays with and guys at this level play with. Think about having 125 uphill to a fairly large green. All you got to do is put it in the middle of the green. Right. That's all you've got to do at 18. Now, this is 18 in regulation. He ended up hitting the game-winning shot in the playoff on the same hole, still from about 125. It's amazing what pressure can do, because it's the only thing that you can think about, really. What else would cause him not to make a good swing from 125 yards out? It was remarkable to me. It was high theater. It was the Masters at its absolute best. It's always a feast for the eyes, and the storylines inevitably take place. And the old saying is tried and true. Sunday afternoon on the back 9 at the Masters, there is no better theater in sports. And yesterday we saw it. And it was more because Rory backed up to the crowd to allow others in. Yeah. But he triumphed in the end. And you're right. Man, what would we be talking about this morning if Justin Rose had canned one and Rory got knock-kneed and missed that putt? And man, it would be a totally different kind of story right now, but it's not. And we have the sixth player in history that's celebrating now a career Grand Slam. Great storyline.
Well, I certainly know that the Sportsbook Bar and Grill was showing that unbelievable Masters final day. Sportsbook Bar and Grill, you can find them in the Highlands Ranch and in the DTC. When I first learned about the Sportsbook Bar and Grill, they were in the DTC, and they were a great location. But then they built one closer to my house in Highlands Ranch, and the both places are totally consistent when it comes to their menu. The menu is nothing short of outstanding. They have 12 different burgers. All of them are amazing, cooked well, all totally different. The wings are amazing. They have all these different sauces. The appetizers, you need to try these. And I know that you're not a meat eater, and nor would you eat meat just for this, Bruce. But they have these Philly cheesesteak egg rolls that every time I go in there, I get them. When I go in there with my wife, Mandy, we get them. They're amazing. Now, when it comes to sports, they have everything. Of course, the four majors, but they're big on showing soccer, rugby, UFC. If you go to the Highlands Ranch location, they have this huge LED wall. It's just a place that you walk into and you feel comfortable. You're like, this is my spot. So, Sportsbook Bar and Grill, you can find them in the DTC, Highlands Ranch, and coming soon to Parker. Time now.
You wait a minute. You have a very eclectic range of tastes. You're a cook, and you love different tastes of food. But yeah. Philly cheesesteak is one of your weaknesses. You love yourself some Philly cheesecake, man.
Well, here's the thing. I don't eat beef very often, but if it's mixed with peppers and onions, I'm all in. Throw a little cheese on there. I mean, it doesn't matter how it's served. It really doesn't. But in an egg roll form, that's a different way to do it because it's just a different texture. And you're like, damn, these are really good. Time now for the lead.
The lead is presented by Smokin' Dave's Barbecue. It is not just the best barbecue in town, it is one of the best restaurants in town. You can find Smokin' Dave's Barbecue off 36th and Pecos.
The Clippers opening round of the playoffs. The Nuggets, they will have the 4th seed. Of course, the Clippers have the 5th seed. Let's start it off this way. Yes, it's good to get the 4th seed because at least you have the home court through the opening round of the playoffs. But Clippers, Timberwolves, Warriors, Lakers, heading into the weekend, all 4 of those teams were possibilities. Was that the best matchup for the Nuggets?
I mean, I think if you could have figured out Golden State, maybe you would have taken that one, but a couple of dominoes would have had to have fallen to get to Golden State. Look, we've talked about this all year long. The West is just a beast. There are no easy touches in the West. You can make an argument for just about any team in the West. You get down into the play-in round, and there's still a couple of capable teams in the West that you've got to play well for. You need to play your best basketball because I'll tell you one thing, the Clippers they've won 8 straight games. 8 straight games coming into the playoffs. Kawhi Leonard has only played in like 38 games this year, but he had 30 some odd plus points yesterday against Golden State. This is going to be a team that is probably a little bit more balanced than the Nuggets. They defend, and they defend well. James Harden is having a really good point-producing season. He turns the ball over maybe 4.5 times a game, but he's got the ball in his hands so much that it evens out. But I think that this is going to be a very good matchup. I think it's a matchup the Nuggets can win. And certainly the way that they're playing right now, David Adelman deserves a lot of credit, but so do these players deserve some credit because they've pulled themselves together and they are communicating and they are playing well. Houston played their regulars yesterday, and this team was up by 36 in the third quarter.
Yep. No, I'm with you on that. The Clippers are playing well. You mentioned 8 straight games.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. But let's, just for fun, and Kawhi is playing great. Okay? With you on that. Let's start with that 8-game winning streak. They beat Orlando. Is Orlando any good? No. They beat New Orleans. Is New Orleans any good?
No.
Just answer the question. Okay.
No.
How about Dallas? Dallas any good?
No. Not now.
How about San Antonio?
No.
Terrible. Now, looking at their final 3 games, they did beat Houston. Fine. Sacramento, they beat them by a point on the road. Okay, fine. And then they beat Golden State. Now, before that 8-game winning streak, they had a loss. You know who that loss was to? Cleveland. So, when you look at their previous 4 games, they have 2 losses in 2 games, Oklahoma City and Cleveland. With that, it probably seems like I'm cherry picking here. They haven't played the toughest schedule, but Kawhi is playing great. And that's the most important thing. He's looking like Kawhi of old. That's what worries me. And they have a big guy in the middle who is pretty good in Zubac. He's pretty good. Is that fair to say?
Yep. Zubac's a player. Yeah, no, he's really good. He's a good player. And then Norman Powell. So they've got guys. This is a really capable roster. It can score from a lot of different places on the floor, and they will defend you a little bit. Now, I mean, you know how it is. The ante is raised in the postseason, and everything becomes much more focused, and everything is heightened. So can the Nuggets continue to build on this on this foundation here in the last week of the regular season? And what a week last week with the Nuggets, right, Eric? We start the week off with a 4-game losing streak, and Michael Malone is the head coach. We end it with David Adelman taking over for his longtime mentor and friend, and on the middle of a 3-game winning streak. So things can change very, very quickly in this thing called the NBA, and certainly in the playoffs.
Let's jump to that in a minute, but let's look at the other 3 possibilities of teams that they could have played. Minnesota want no part of them. Fair to say? Let's take them off the list. With the way the Lakers are playing, I know the Nuggets are the Lakers.
No.
But they weren't their daddy with Luka. Okay?
No.
Take the Lakers off the list. I'm not saying the Nuggets can't beat the Lakers in a 7-game series. I don't want them in the opening round. Not like I would have said last year. Then you have Golden State. Golden State isn't big inside, and I know that the Nuggets played well against Jimmy Butler in the NBA final, but Jimmy Butler didn't have Steph Curry either.
Right.
I think Golden State or the Clippers would have been the better matchup.
Yes, I would agree.
The Clippers are a more balanced roster. Kawhi, Harden, Butler, Curry. Who do you want? Right? I think that's what it comes down to. And for Golden State, they don't have the horses. They don't have the bigs. But Steph Curry is still Steph Curry, period. He's the best of those 4 that I just named, even though he doesn't play defense like Kawhi Leonard. Let's move on to something that you talked about, and I agree. I said, and we had this conversation, the Nuggets are better off going into the playoffs with David Adelman. I said that day of. You remember. It's not that you necessarily disagreed with me, but you're like, Malone deserves a chance. I don't disagree that he may have deserved a chance because of all the equity that he put into the bank by being with this team for 10 years, all those regular season wins, winning a championship. But once you tune the coach out, once the players stop listening, I'm sorry, it is time to go. Especially when you were potentially considering it a month to 2 months ago anyway. I am not going to stand here and say, look, I was right. They won 3 in a row. You got to feel better about Adelman. But the truth is, everybody feels better about Adelman now heading into the playoffs. How much better do you feel about the Nuggets now heading into the playoffs just 3 games with David Adelman.
Well, you have to feel better because you've got demonstrated ability, right? We'll go back and tip our hats to Sean Payton this morning. And you've seen the Nuggets play well. You've seen David Adelman make it a point to spread the wealth around. You've seen the starting 5 play extremely well. Collectively yesterday, they shot 55%. They were all in double figures. Yet no one scored more than 19 points. So you had 5 guys between 19 and 11 that played key minutes, yet no one played over 31 minutes. So you start to see how David Adelman is getting ready to roll this club out for the postseason. But Eric, you and I have talked about this many times over the years. This is all about matchups now. You just touched upon it, and it's worth repeating. Golden State has the hot takes, the guys that can do it. Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, those guys can get going in a New York minute, and you're in a world of trouble. But you know what? I'd rather be the Clippers with a big presence like Zubac that can deal at least a little bit with Nikola Jokic, because Golden State doesn't really have that player. They really just don't have that player. So there's all kinds of very interesting things that will, by the time we get to Saturday afternoon at Ball Arena, that will play out here. But it's pretty hard to argue about where the Nuggets are right now, especially compared to where they were a week ago, and not feel better about their chances. Hey, if they had tripped into the playoffs, first of all, they wouldn't be in the 4 seed. They wouldn't be playing the Clippers. They'd be playing in the play-in round, and we'd all be counting this thing to be done and pay attention to the Avs, who gave us the best chance to play deeper into the playoffs. Let's face it, times have changed.
Well, I guess the question is, do you feel better about the Avs going into the playoffs than you do the Nuggets? Things have flipped in a way. Yes, Landeskog could be back, but the Nuggets do look better. But the Avalanche aren't playing well right now, and they are dealing with some injuries. So who do you feel better about heading into the playoffs today? We know how you felt a week ago, know how you felt 2 weeks ago, but how about today heading into this weekend? That is next. Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you got to try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver. Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch in the DTC. Both locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook is a hangout bar or great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, the DTC, and coming soon to Parker. They are the sports bar.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a Ford Bronco Raptor or nearly $30,000 in cash the weekend of May 23rd. Get finalist entries from 10 a.m. until midnight during their daily cash drawings every 45 minutes or by redeeming player points. And all daily cash drawings that don't get picked are eligible for a second chance drawing on Wednesdays, and that can turn into extra cash. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
All right, welcome back to Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl. Get a chance to watch the Avalanche game last night?
I watched. I did. I watched. It was 2-0 going to the third, and so I'd been watching it kind of with sneaking peeks and stuff.
Yeah.
But I started locking down once they got it to 2-2 in the last 9 minutes or something like that. Well, they scored 4 goals in the last 9:55 or something like that. So yeah, I paid some attention. It was nice to see even that group be able to kind of, using your term, flip a switch and play well. Good to see Wedgwood play. He turned away a lot of shots, and you got 7 guys sitting back home here in Denver, 7 pretty key guys that are sitting back home in Denver. But you still find a way to play 2 fairly good games. I mean, they gave up 5 against the Kings, but I thought they bounced back nicely against the Ducks last night. What the heck? Here we go.
Watching the Nuggets, not so much the Avs,
right?
But over the last 2-3 weeks, you feel good. You don't feel good about them, then you feel good about them. Then you don't feel good about them, then you feel good about them. Both the Nuggets and the Avalanche are heading into the playoffs this weekend. The Avalanche are going to take on the Stars. I understand both teams have over 100 points, and there are very few teams that have over 100 points in the NHL. And what a bad draw for the Avs. When you look at the conference standings, it is the 3 seed playing the 4th seed. When you look at the conference standings, it really should be the 4th seed playing the 5 seed. Yeah. But it's a crap draw for the Avalanche. You can make this case. It's a crap draw for the Dallas Stars.
No question.
But then again, the winner of that series more than likely will have to take on the Winnipeg Jets. And that really sucks too. You would hopefully think that would be in the Western Conference Final. With that, the Nuggets start with the Clippers. The Avs, if they get Gabe Landeskog back, you're like, wow. If suddenly a few more guys get healthy, like a Druin, and let's say Blackwood starts playing better because he hasn't been that great, you would think the Avs are the better team right now. The Avs are more loaded than the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yes, I would agree with that. Yes.
But would you seriously pick the Avalanche to advance further in the playoffs than the Nuggets? Meaning, I think the Nuggets have 1 round in them. I don't know if the Avs can get out of the first round, not because they're not good enough. It's because of their draw. Yeah,
and you're right. This is the only series in the NHL in the opening round to feature 200-point teams, 2 really good teams. And you're right. I mean, you can be an Avs fan and be grumbling about having to play Dallas, but how about if you're a Stars fan and you've got to play Colorado, a team that's right. knocked you off a couple of times, and you're the 2nd seed in out of the division, and then you got to go play Winnipeg in the next round.
Right.
To me, the NHL, and you've taught me this over the years, how set in their ways and staid they are. I mean, I get it. It's the old French-Canadian sensibility and all of those things. It's hard to, and I'm not going to argue with it because it's worked for many years. I have never understood this about the NHL, why they don't try to promote really good matchups down the line in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Right. To have a first-round matchup like Colorado and Dallas is kind of cheating hockey fans for the next round. This should be a second or even a third round, a conference semifinal or a conference final kind of matchup. Now, Winnipeg has earned their flowers all season long, and they've been the best in the West. And until further notice, they're the team to beat. But, I don't have a real feel for. I think I would probably have to take the Nuggets to go a little further, not because I have more faith in the Nuggets and who they are as a complete team, but even in the loaded Western Conference of the NBA, you're still looking at Dallas, Winnipeg for the Avs. I mean, I don't think they've beaten Winnipeg this year. They got them the very first game of the season. I don't know, but Winnipeg has kind of owned them. And so I guess probably I would, if you're putting a gun to my head figuratively, I would probably say I would think the Nuggets have a chance to get further.
Here's one of the craziest things that you will see. The Avalanche, their regular season is done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Their regular season is over. The LA Kings have 3 games to play.
Right.
The Stars have 2 games to play. Most teams have only played 80 games. When it is all said and done, going back to playoff seeding, the Dallas Stars, who have 106 points, and Vegas, who has 107 points, it is more than possible that the top 2 teams in the Western Conference, and 2 of the top 3 teams in hockey could be in the Central Division. And the Avs will have to play both of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a weird thing. I know that this is how they've always done it. That doesn't mean that you can't tweak things and make it better. And this would be a good example of trying to make it better. But, who am I to argue, with the great history of the NHL?
So who do you think has a better chance of getting out of the first round? The Avalanche or the Nuggets? Last week, you would have picked the Avs even if they were playing Winnipeg, even if they were playing the 1985 Edmonton Oilers.
Oh, yeah. Give me some Charlie Huddy.
A guy that I covered, Charlie Huddy.
Yeah. Good player, right?
Pulling off the Charlie Huddy card.
I went for the reference. I could have gone Walt Podubny on you. Oh. Walt Podubny. I mean, I think he was NHL Rookie of the Year, but anyway, I'm just having fun now.
Well done.
I think it's about. I think the Nuggets have home court advantage. Does that have to count for something?
Home ice advantage doesn't mean much.
I don't think it does. No.
Here's the thing. I hear guys on sports talk radio. It's a real, and it is a noodle scratcher. Why does home ice mean less than home court? Because we see it all the time. And a lot of people can't figure out the answer. I'm not saying I have the answer, but I have an idea why home court means far more than home ice. We have talked about this. Is this correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Here's my theory. Home court advantage, the fans are on top of you. They're all over you, and you can really hear them. It's not to say that you cannot hear the fans at all in hockey, but like a caged animal, that glass between the players and the fans, it's like they're there, but they're not there. You don't hear them. You don't feel them. You feel the energy of the crowd because of the way the stadium is built. And don't get me wrong, it is loud. But courtside, those fans are right on you. And I do think that plays a difference. And in hockey, you just don't get the same thing.
Not only does it play a difference, it is the biggest difference. You are absolutely right. The glass, as it were in hockey, separates the main stage from the paying audience.
Right.
The paying audience is part of the experience at an NBA game, a big college basketball game. And all you've got to do is statistically look at the numbers. Winners on the road versus winners at home, especially in the playoffs. You see NHL road teams in the playoffs every year go and win series early on. It happens in the NBA too. I'm not saying it doesn't, but it happens less frequently. And I think it's that simple. I agree. I think that the fans and the noise and the urgency in the NHL, with them literally within 3-4 feet of the playing surface, 5 feet of the playing surface, they are a constant part of the energy of a game. So I would give the Nuggets, we say all of that, and I said I would probably give the Nuggets a slight edge, but I don't think it's such a big edge that I would just say Nuggets have the best chance to go deep. I mean, if the Avs catch a little bit of a heater, they can beat anybody that they play. I'm not sure that the Nuggets can beat anybody that they play. I will say that.
Well, the Avalanche might have Gabe Landeskog back. And I was not at the game on Friday, but watching on social media, I had a friend who bought tickets with actually Judson, who owns Sportsbook Bar and Grill with Jeremy. I don't know if Jeremy went, but they happen to own it together. I'm guessing Judson and Jeremy went together. And Judson was so excited to go to this game. And he was sending me videos and pictures, and I'm seeing stuff all over social media. It was a magical moment to see him on the ice after 3 years. And the players doing the ceremonial salute, which is banging the sticks against the dasher boards. And then after the game, basically getting a champagne shower, talking about that's what Landeskog got. It was a wonderful moment to see. But now let's snap back to reality. He has played 2 games in a row, says his knee feels fine. At least he said that after the game. I don't know how that feels today. I do know he's going to get a nice long break to heal that knee up even more before the playoffs begin this upcoming weekend. What kind of jolt do you think that he can bring to the team? The obvious answer is, well, is he playing at 70%, 80%? I understand that. But what kind of a jolt also in terms of moving down the lines can he bring? Meaning you put him, sake of argument, on the top line, he replaced the guy who now moves to the second line. And while trickle-down economics wasn't very good in the 1980s, trickle-down lines in the NHL is a very good thing. Hate to get political on you.
No, it's okay. Ronald Reagan would be pleased for the nod this morning.
Well, Nancy and I felt very good.
I kind of liked. I mean, that's as close as I've come to being. Yeah. That's as close as I've come. He and let's not get into that. But anyway,
there you go again, Bruce.
Yeah, there I go again. Exactly.
I am not going to hold your youth and inexperience against
right. You. No, there's plenty of other things you could hold against me.
The greatest line in debate history of all time, when Ronald Reagan said to, and I think I'm paraphrasing, maybe it's a quote, when he said to Walter Mondale, people have talked a lot about my age, but Mr. Vice President, I am not going to hold your youth and inexperience
against you. Yeah, right.
And that ended for good that presidential campaign.
Yeah, no kidding. He was an interesting guy for interesting times, no question about it. Gabe Landeskog, to me, gives them a spark for just being there. Yes. There is to me, an emotional jump that you get by having a player like him around, by having his story around. There is an inspirational tone to this guy in every shape and form, coming back from 3 years off the ice to be able to play again. His perseverance, all of those things may sound silly and kind of rah-rah, but I think it equates, even at the professional level, to have a guy like him around, a guy in the locker room. We tend to forget about just how revered this guy has been in the locker room, the captain, to the point where we haven't even handed the mantle over to someone else after 3 years of inactivity. It's still Gabriel Landeskog. So he means so much to the franchise and to that locker room on that level. If you get anything physically from him, then for me, you're playing with house money. Now, I will say this, he's going to take someone off the roster. So that's messing with balance too. But if you get a Gabe Landeskog who has looked the way that he's looked in the last two outings, I think it surprised me a little bit. And but if you can get that kind of Gabe Landeskog, you'll take him.
All right, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the Rockies. Talking about the Rockies reminds me of talking about CU football for about 20 years before Deion Sanders got there. You would only talk about CU football, except for maybe a couple of years, because they were so bad and basically who was going to get fired. With that, the Rockies, I mean, this is as bad as it gets, I think. I could be wrong. They lost 3 in a row to San Diego. No big deal. They're going to lose 3 in a row plenty of times. But they got shut out in all 3 games. They're the worst team in baseball. Their record is 3-12. They've scored a league low 40 runs and are tied for giving up a league high 84 runs. Do you believe this organization, specifically Monfort, is even feeling a sense of panic?
You know, I think the party line will be, growing pains, young team. In fact, that's kind of been their MO now.
No. They're not a young team. They're not a young team. They're not a young team. Repeat after me.
That will be that you asked me. You asked me what their take will be, and I think that they will continue along that party line.
Bruce, here's my swear word for the show. Give me a fucking break.
Oh, my.
Give me a fucking break. Seriously, I don't want to hear about the youth because you know what it always is with Bill Schmidt, which I'm sure he talks to Dick Monfort about? Well, we're injured. You're not injured. You have nobody on the disabled list. What's the excuse? You have nobody on the disabled list. I don't want to hear about Brenton Doyle, who's banged up in April. He's not on the DL. Everybody's healthy as far as I'm concerned. And you're 3-12.
The only positive right now is Chase Dolander, who was good in his opening game and was even better in his second start. His was the bright spot of the series in San Diego in a 2-0 loss, but pitched into the 6th inning and was very effective. Other than that, Eric, this team struck out 32 times in 3 games in San Diego. They had 9 hits in 3 games. Collectively, 9 hits in 3 games. No runs. And you said, they got swept in 3. Well, now they go to L.A. They could be swept in another 3. We could be looking at a 3-15 team coming home for a series with the Washington Nationals. My question to you very simply is, when will it be enough? When will the fan base have had enough? And how will they express their frustration with the way that this team is and the way it's going?
We know that when a team like Atlanta, the Dodgers, the Cubs, a New York team comes to town, it is a false positive when it comes to attendance. But coming up right now, I think might be a truer test of the fans' patience with the Rockies and Dick Monfort. They have a 3-game road trip against the Dodgers starting tonight. Then they come home to play the Nationals, a team that I don't think has some great national following here in Denver. Then they go to Kansas City for 3 games. Then they're back home against the Reds, a Cincinnati team that doesn't have some big national following. I mean, when I walk down the street, I don't hear a lot of people talking about Skyline Chili. So because of that, that tells me there aren't a lot of Reds fans in town. So we will see with those 2 teams what the attendance is. With the Brewers, it was about 18,000 for 3 games when they were at home. We will see with that. I don't even know what to, and you know what the funny thing is? The Rockies are pissing people off when they are mentioned on X.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all over X yesterday because of a 3rd consecutive shutout. Again, the only time people really want to talk about them is when they're bad, because there is no reason to talk about them when they're good, because they're never good.
At least
Forever.
At least people are angry enough to express something at this point. You really have problems when apathy creeps in and all of a sudden you're only drawing 12, 14, 15,000 people in a place that has approached 3 million for years and years and years for a season's worth of attendance. That would be the loudest communique. Even Dick Monfort would have to hear that one. I think we'll see.
Well, we'll see. We will see when they have that 3-game homestand against Washington. If people show up, the weather is supposed to be nice, except for Friday, or believe it or not, it's supposed to snow.
Right.
And then we'll see what happens against the Reds. With that, that's going to do it for us. Hot Takes Goodman and Haertl. Alex, great job. Same with you, Bruce. I'll try and do better tomorrow. Make it the best possible day you can.